each other. Two fan bases hate each other, and what makes it so great.
They're going to remember what happened in this game for a long, long time.
I poisoned the two tumors trees.
Auburn's gonna win the football game! Auburn's gonna win the football game! He ran them in field goal back! Whoa, baby!
This is a cyclone weather alert.
It's cold!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's officially hate week here in the state of Iowa. Actually, I'm not even in the state of Iowa. I'm actually in Florida recording this. But when you guys see this, it doesn't really matter where you see this. It's hate week for the week of Iowa and Iowa State. We have Jake here with us again this week. Elijah is currently, quote unquote, backstage listening to us while we do our predictions. So, to kick off week 2, we have a very interesting game in probably both everyone's opinion. Let me get this set up there. There it is. And that is the matchup between Virginia Tech and Purdue. Purdue had a really close game with Fresno State. And then Virginia Tech, let me pull up what Virginia Tech did. They're coming off a win over Old Dominion. Jake, I'll let you kick off the predictions for this week.
Alrighty, well, first, like I say, I mean, Purdue, they did come off of a pretty close game against Fresno State, but Fresno State, I guess you could say that was an upset, maybe not so much, but, yeah, like I say, it's Purdue without, Aiden O'Connell, who obviously is a massive, massive piece for what they did last year, and somehow pulling off the Big Ten West, even though they're in Indiana. But anyway, regardless, geography lesson aside, honestly, I feel like this could be a very intriguing game, and it looks like Virginia Tech is the favorite. And they're in Virginia Tech, so can you scroll up a little bit?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, they have Virginia Tech at 56% to 44, and the line is...
Line, I think, is 3 in favor of Virginia Tech.
Ooh. Tell you what, lines like that make me want to feel, honestly, I'm going to go, well, kind of piggybacking off of Elijah here. I think VTech rallies behind the fallen players in the ceremony. And you know what? I agree with Elijah there. I'm going to go with Virginia Tech. Because it's at home and because it's such a close game, I usually try to side with the home team and the home crowd, because especially if it's an emotional thing or, stuff like that, you can never go wrong with a little extra momentum. So for that, give me Virginia Tech as just a normal win.
So for me, looking at the passing yards leaders for both sides, it's pretty even for yardage and touchdowns, basically. What is this guy's name? Maccabee? What a name. Devin Maccabee. That's a dope name. Looking at both sides, I think this is not a night game. So you're not going into Enter Sandman at night, which I think Enter Sandman at night is a lot more effective, if that's the correct word to say here. With that being said, I'm gonna be in agreement with all three with both of you. I say Virginia Tech, and it's gonna come down to a game-winning field goal that puts Virginia Tech up by 1. All right, with the next game, that's going to be Ohio State and Youngstown. I don't think we really even need to talk about this game that much. So I'll just go out and freaking say it. Ohio State Buckeyes all the way.
Yeah, Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much else to say. Ohio State is Ohio State. They're at home taking on an FCS opponent, which, granted, the Missouri Valley Conference is not a conference to sleep on in the FCS. I mean, most of the national champs over the last few years have come out of the Missouri Valley in the FCS as a fellow FCS Missouri Valley Conference person. But yeah, Ohio State should win this easily.
Now, this next one, we do not take this team for granted. It is Delaware traveling to Penn State. The only reason I say do not take them for granted is because they did upset a Power 5 ranked opponent last year. But this year this year they're going to Happy Valley and Penn State. I don't know if I like the Delaware Blue Hens, but I don't think the Blue Hens are going to be are going to be a little too much for the Blue Hens. I am taking the Penn State Nittany Lions here.
Yeah, pretty much agreeing with Elijah there too. Obviously, his pick is Ohio State, and then also same with Penn State. I mean, pretty much you can just sum up those last two games with that sentence right there. So, again, Ohio State takes down Youngstown, and Penn State takes down Delaware. Again, Penn State, if they want to be, true and they want to actually show that they belong, they almost need to kind of do what Oregon did last week against Portland State.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Penn State.
Okay. This next one, I muted my mic for a second, my bad, is actually one I'm going to pull up really quick because it is Notre Dame traveling to NC State. Now, the line for that game is only 7.5 for Notre Dame. They're a road favorite, but it's not by much.
And that's the thing, too, Trev, kind of piggybacking off of that, too. NC State is not a team you want to sleep on necessarily either. Just because, again, with Notre Dame, they're one of those teams where more often than not, they're going to be favorited in almost every matchup they play in. However, Notre Dame is one of those teams that they basically always slip up unexpectedly. It's kind of one of those things where, again, kind of going with Elijah here in the chat, NC State has been good in recent years. So, yeah, I mean, NC State does have some good pieces and some good players, and plus compound that with the fact that Notre Dame just kind of, honestly, it's kind of a coin toss.
Let me cut you off there for a second. You can never really truly put your heart into Notre Dame because there's time. Look at me last year. I went one in I don't know how many games we picked in picking Notre Dame. So, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, Trev, exactly. They're one of those teams where it's like, oh, yeah, you put your faith into them, and then they somehow manage to slip up against a team that they should blow out by 20. Again, even just look at last week, Duke and Clemson. Like, who expected Clemson to just absolutely crap the bed the way they did?
Certainly not the three people that are doing the predictions this week.
Sorry, I have something in my throat there. Anyway, but you know what? With that said, though, this is looking tempting, but I'm going to go with Notre Dame until they tell me otherwise, basically, at this point.
That's kind of the same mood that I'm in.
Granted, I will say, though, NC State probably puts up a better fight than either of the last two opponents Notre Dame has faced, so.
Yeah. Also, really quick look, the top 25 is officially updated. The number one major one that I want to point out is the new addition in the Colorado Buffaloes. We will be predicting them later in the video, but I figured I'd just bring them up. All right, the next game is, I think, one I probably should bring up. It is yeah. I never even made my prediction. I picked Notre Dame in this game. I'm like 75. Actually, hold on. Let me bring up the thing real quick. I am this confident in it. 78.5%. I'm not 100% confident in Notre Dame
Yeah.
because of my track record last year. All right, next game is going to be So what you're telling me is I make that my lock and put a bet on my game.
Oh.
Oh, so Kirby. Yeah. So my buddy is throwing the gauntlet. He says if I pick Notre Dame and they win, he buys me lunch. But if I lose, no, if Notre Dame wins, you buy me lunch. If Notre Dame loses, I buy you lunch. Ooh. So then that means if I choose to do that, I have to make them my lock.
Hey, no balls, no glory there, buddy. Like I say, you know, it is a ranked versus unranked.
You know what? Come here. I'm a fucking shake on that.
Sam Hartman all the way, baby.
I'm gonna shake on that. Notre Dame, my lock of the week, and it's an early lock.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, the lock of the week. And then on my game, because I have bet up. You guys know that. I'm going to put down. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put down 1,200 on that bet. I have them in front of me.
Ooh.
I have
All
them in
right.
front of me. So I'm gonna put 1,200 on bet up. Let me put that on there. On bet up. So yeah, Notre Dame, my lock of the week. Let me see if Elijah says something. He's talking about give me the team with the best intro in college football, the Irish. I love that. Have you seen their NBC intro? You should look it up. It's really good. All right, this next game is a really tough one to pick because we're talking two future Big 12 opponents. That is the Utah Utes traveling to Waco to take on the Baylor Bears. Jake, yes, I'm the Big 12 expert, but I shall let you take this one first, good sir.
Well, Baylor's coming off of a loss to first-time FBS school Texas State. And it wasn't even close, really. I think it was like a 12-point or 13?
11-point win. 11-point win for Texas State.
And like I say, Utah's coming off of, a pretty convincing victory last week themselves.
Yeah.
So, and like I say, as a Big 12, fan myself and stuff like that, Baylor is, again, kind of like Notre Dame and like certain teams like that where you never know what you're going to get from them. Like 1 week they look like a potential, Big 12 title contender, and the next week they're barely squeaking by against an FCS team. So it's one of those where which Baylor team is going to show up and, all that stuff. So for that, plus Elijah kind of makes a good point here too. He says Baylor lost their starting quarterback with injury.
I was just getting ready to say that. So Baylor will be without their starting quarterback this week if that injury is still a thing. Elijah, if you want to confirm that for me, could you? But go ahead and finish your pick.
So honestly, I'm gonna go Utah here and come back to me later because this is a potential lock candidate for me. But I'm going to wait and see once we get a little bit further down before I do that here. But right now, Utah.
Elijah has Utah as well. For
he
me,
says MCL tear 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, so Baylor's going to be out of their starting quarterback. Who's their backup is? No, you're fine. Would be this Shapen guy, Blake Shapen. That's the guy who's injured. Okay, so then he got injured late in the game then because he had a 21 for 31 for 303 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. So
And it's Robinson then. Okay. All right. So either way, I think I'm gonna go ahead and also pick Utah. One, not because I hate them. They're not because I hate Baylor. It's more because you never know what team you're gonna get when you comes to Baylor. Baylor. Look at the game between them and Iowa State last year. That game ended up being their Iowa State's only two score loss all year long, and they even played like crap. So Baylor might not have a good year. And looking at them now, they're already 0-1 to start the year. They go 0-2. This year's already going to be a tough battle, upfront battle for them.
And by the way, did I mention they lost their starting quarterback for 3 weeks with an MCL tear, and they lost to Texas State in Texas State's first FBS game as an FBS program. So,
yeah, it's going to be crazy. So next game, keep it in the Big 12. You have the Troy Trojans taking on the Kansas State Wildcats in the Little Apple in Manhattan, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, all these games are Saturday, this will be up later in the week. I'm recording this on a Tuesday, so if anyone wonders. I'll go ahead and go first. Looking at Kansas State's quarterback, he went 18 for 26 for 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a pick last week. And then Gunnar Watson also went 14 for 22 with 198 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception in their win over Stephen F. Austin. That game was close. Kansas State had a shutout win over SEMO last year.
Southeast Missouri, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, Southeast Missouri is the name of SEMO. So,
yep,
I think they're FCS if I remember right.
Yes, they are. Iowa State played them last year. Yes, Iowa State played them last year to open their season. Kansas State being the 16.5-point favorite, I'm going to pick the reigning defending Big 12 champion Kansas State Wildcats.
Yeah, and I agree with Elijah here. He says, don't see Troy putting up much of a fight. Give me the Cats. And also give me the Cats as well. And you know what? Screw it. This will be my lock of the week right here. I feel a lot more comfortable about this one than I do the Utes, just because, like I say, Baylor, you never know what to expect and all that stuff. So this
will be your lock, right?
Yeah, this is going to be my lock.
Okay. Let me get the next game pulled up for you, and then I'll have you open up. That actually is Fox Big Noon's game of the week, which Iowa State will follow this, and Iowa State will follow this, but we will get to that later. And that is the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Colorado Buffaloes. Jake, why don't you go ahead and start this one really quick?
I might need to go grab a beer to rinse the taste out of my mouth with this one, because, oof, Maroon. I don't know what to expect here, because I wasn't really expecting. Well, it wasn't that I wasn't expecting Colorado to do anything. I just don't know if, I expected them to do what they were doing, And obviously Nebraska, as time, tale as old as time for all of you Big 10, Big 12 fans, Midwestern football fans. Nebraska and just absolute stinkers. Let's be honest here. Nebraska, you never know what you're going to get. Nebraska is one of those teams that, especially, case in point, they lost to Minnesota on a last-second field goal last week.
Yes, they did. 13-10 was the final score of that game.
And they're 2-15 in one-score games or something like that over the last 20 games or something like that. It's not a good record at all. So, with that said, just like Elijah said in the chat here, I'm riding the Deion Sanders hype train until it derails. So, This
Hold
is
on. To finish that statement. Finish that. Oh, let me finish that statement. Take
Yep.
your pick first.
Colorado.
You're picking Colorado. Okay. Let me do that really quick. First time we've picked Colorado in the entire ever since me and Elijah have been doing this. We didn't do Colorado at all last year.
Well, to be fair, though,
Um,
they've won 4 games in the last 5 years. So,
Fair point.
hey,
Um,
I mean, they've won
Elijah-
like 3 games.
Elijah says, "Give me the Buffs as my lock."
Ooh,
So
put your
that's
nuts on the table there, Elijah. I love it.
I like that too. I can see now. I'm gonna get punched for saying this by physically anyone. Nebraska can and possibly will put up a fight. They did last week with Minnesota. Then again, Minnesota we all know how that went.
Yeah.
Colorado is coming off an upset win over the previously number 17th ranked TCU Horned Frogs, coming off a CFP national title appearance.
Mm-hmm.
If Nebraska does not get blown out of the water by the Colorado Buffaloes, I will scream bloody flipping, not finishing that sentence because it might get me demonetized. Give me Dion's crew, because why not? Like, you gotta ride that train, right?
Yep.
Next up is actually I think we can just gun through the next 2 here. It is Clemson and Charleston Southern.
Yep. Not much needs to be said, though. You know, Dabo coming off of a tough loss against a conference opponent. FCS, yeah, Clemson wins this one easily.
I can see it. Yep, I 100% agree on this too. I will throw this out there. This is the perfect turnaround game for Clemson. This is the game they need to say, okay, we're done out of the.
Yeah.
They're actually eliminated from college football playoff contention. Did I fail to mention that? No, they are. There was something that I saw when I was in Universal today. Someone said that they took out that Clemson's officially eliminated from college football playoff contention. So, I mean, there is still possibly oh my gosh, that's like, okay. I'm sorry, I got the Cubs game on. Their loss was so bad that even if they probably win out, they probably won't make it. Who knows though? But then again, everyone could also be wrong.
Yeah, and again, like what Elijah said there too, not officially, but it would take a miracle. That's exactly what I was gonna say. I'm like, you're not out until you're out, just because. Well, you know, last couple of years, I think last year, like all the teams had like one loss other than Georgia that made it. So it's one of those things. But yeah, it'll take a miracle. But if Clemson, just for their sake, they need to win this game. Otherwise, if they lose to Charleston Southern, fold the franchise up and move it to like Timbuktu or something at this point, because yikes.
Yeah. I think we can also just run through the next one really quick. It's Michigan and UNLV. I mean, if you don't pick the Wolverines here, unless you're actually a UNLV fan, you are on something and you need to get off of it.
Yep. Give me Michigan. And just like what Elijah says, Clemson and Michigan as well for him. So,
all right. This next game, though, I am going to bring up because it is a massive game.
Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one.
This one will be a tricky one. It is the Ole Miss Rebels, number 20 in the nation. They will travel to New Orleans to take on the Tulane Green Wave. Now, I want to throw something out here because everyone seems to be blowing off Tulane a lot. Tulane is coming off from last year, an upset win in the Cotton Bowl over a dominant USC team with a Heisman winner on it.
Mm-hmm.
If that changes your prediction, I completely understand. I will let you take this first, Jake.
I mean, yeah, just like you say, I mean, Tulane isn't going to be a sleeper. However, though, Ole Miss is an SEC team. They play some very stiff competition. They're ranked. They're on the road and stuff like that. You know, if I were to predict and stuff like that, I give me Ole Miss, but I would not be surprised if Tulane does win. So, yeah, I mean, just for that reason, because Ole Miss goes up against teams like Georgia, Mississippi State, LSU, Florida, Tennessee, like teams like that every year. So they're used to playing in tough competition. But like you say, Tulane literally beat USC, who was a preseason national title favorite themselves, coming off of a really good year with Caleb Williams as the Heisman winner. So, but with that said, though, I still have to give it to Ole Miss just because, like I say, SEC, they're used to playing tough games and stuff like that. So, Ole Miss for me. And
There is a YouTube.
And it looks like Elijah agrees too.
There was a YouTube video that I saw that it was a guy talking about Tulane, and saying that Tulane is looking for their, what did he call it? There was a word that he called it, and I can't remember what it was. It was like their Yulman Stadium's first major win. They technically did it against UCF because they did win their conference that year. Mm-hmm. But you can't really classify that as a major win. This game is a 7.5-point favorite for the Ole Miss Rebels. Is this a night game? It is a 2:30 game. Ooh. And the over-under 665, so that's that's actually a really high over-under personally for this game. Personally. Something wants to have me pick Tulane in this game, but something really doesn't. You're picking Tulane, aren't you? I don't know, Elijah. This is such a hard pick. Like, I can see Tulane pulling off another upset over an SEC team. It would be the first SEC loss to a Power 5 school since I don't even know when. But I should play it safe and pick Ole Miss because looking at the standings, I'm one game back from you, Jake, after our surprisingly double or nothing Wyoming game that we did off of camera when it was late in the game. That was a really fun game to watch. That game went to double.
Oh, yeah.
That was really fun. Give me... I'm going to be in agreement with you. I'm going to regret doing this. I'm in agreement with all of you. Give me the Ole Miss Rebels. I hope I don't regret that either, because that's such a tough pick. Just like this next game, and that is the Texas A&M Aggies taking on the Miami Hurricane in Miami. Texas A&M is a 4.5-point favorite. Looking at both quarterbacks here, Wigman had 5 touchdowns. And Van Dyke for Miami had a touchdown and a pick.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who their opponents were because, like I say, those box scores could be between an FCS and...
Let's go. Texas A&M had New Mexico. Miami had Miami of Ohio.
So, yeah, which... So they're giving this to Miami.
A&M is a road favorite.
Which is crazy because they say, you know, Texas A&M at what, under 6.5, but they have Miami as the favorite.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Don't go based off this. Don't go based off that matchup predictor because that will sometimes be wrong.
Mhm.
Go by the line. The Texas A&M is the favorite.
Honestly, I'm going to go with the Aggies. Just because,
Okay.
kind of like what I said with the last one, you know, Miami's like Notre Dame and like other teams where it's like they're more of like a past, you know, memory than anything. You know, like Miami every year, they're like, oh, is this the year Miami gets it going again? Is this the year Notre Dame gets it going again? Is this the year Miami gets it going? And yet every year they both fall on their face and, you know, always undersell expectations only to then be propped back up the following season. So, and until Miami actually shows me that they're back to like the, you know, early 2000s days or even their murderer's row in the 80s, I just can't trust them. So give me the Aggies of Texas A&M.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I had this is just a straight up bias pick. I had family that went to A&M, so there was no shot I can pick against A&M. Next game, I'm actually gonna gun through the next few here.
Oh, by the way, Elijah agrees as well. Aggies, Miami isn't good. So he also picks Texas A&M.
Yeah. I'm gonna gun through the next few because I gotta get to sleep here because I have an early morning tomorrow. Washington and Tulsa. Give me the Huskies here.
Yep, Washington.
Elijah, you want to just keep going with that? Washington's not my upset. Washington's just a regular pick. Next up will be Tennessee and
Austin Peay, I think.
And Austin Peay. Give me Tennessee on this one as well.
Rocky Top. Yep, give me Rocky Top as well.
Bada bing, bada boom. North Carolina and Appalachian State. Now, I want to pick Appalachian State as my upset for this one, but I can't. There's no shot I can. Give me and UNC.
And also give me UNC as well. Just because Appalachian State, they're good for like one massive upset every couple of years or so, but yeah, give me North Carolina. The Tar Heels.
And then Oklahoma and SMU. Now, this one I'm going to take a second on because I like SMU, but I don't really know if Oklahoma's actually going to be ready for them. Let me pull them up really quick here. There it is. I'll pull it up for you really quick. Oklahoma's a 15.5 point favorite.
Yeah, about what I was feeling here. I mean, again, SMU, they're just kind of there, I guess, for lack of a better term. I mean, I really don't know a lot about SMU, even though they're going to be joining the ACC next year, which is going to be very interesting. But regardless, you know, next year is going to be an absolute cluster, you know what? And we'll do that when we get to that. But for now, I'm just going to, like I say, Oklahoma, you know, whether or not they're back or this or that or the other thing, I know they're moving on to the SEC next year too and stuff like that. But even if it, you know, just looking at this, even just normally at Oklahoma.
The newly ranked Duke and Louisiana Lafayette. I'm going to pick the Blue Devils. I regret not picking them last week. I am not going to make the mistake on that one.
Yep, give me Duke as well.
All right, this next one I'm definitely going to have to bring up because, well, it is a key matchup.
Ooh.
That is Texas and Bama in Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
Alabama's only a 7-point favorite.
Well, I mean, last year when they were down there in Texas, I mean, it was a very, very close game that went down to the wire. and all that stuff. Plus, Alabama wasn't really all that great per se. However, though, it is down there in Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and I mean, Alabama's still Alabama until Saban's gone and all that stuff. So you can never count Alabama out like anytime. And
Unless it's
for
like
that,
LSU and you're just really confident in that pick.
true. But yeah, just like Elijah says, Bama's at home and Bama's damn good at home. So give me the Crimson Tide of Alabama for this one.
Texas, you're gonna regret joining the SEC. Give me. I wash my mouth out. Wash my mouth out for this pick. Give me the Crimson Tide. I cannot stand Alabama. Now, next up is the Oregon Ducks traveling to Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is coming off an amazing game. Unfortunately, they were on the wrong side of it.
Mm-hmm.
In Wyoming, but this is their first home game of the year, and they have Oregon coming to town. Now, Oregon has a bad history against Big 12 opponents. Mainly noting the Fiesta Bowl back in 2020. Sorry, distraction. I can see Texas Tech actually pulling this off, but because they played a damn good game last week, just because it was a 2-point loss does not mean literally anything. Oregon rains on the parade. It's not a bad pick.
No,
but I do need an upset pick. Or do I save that for the obvious game that we're doing later? I'm picking Oregon. I want to, but I want to go against it, but like I don't see. Needs to be a darker green. There we go. Yeah, I'm picking Oregon on this one.
I'm also going to go the Ducks on this one as well. Just like you say, I mean, nothing against Texas Tech or anything like that. I mean, they do have flashes of really good games and really good seasons every so often, but it's just one of those things where Oregon, potentially being Pac-12 favorites, for the last year of the Pac-12 and potentially being maybe even dark horse, like Final Four contention. This is a game they have to win and win convincingly, in my opinion, to kind of keep their name in the running. Granted, we're only in week 2, but still, there's a lot of big games coming up too. So, and Texas Tech, I've watched enough of their games to know you never know what to expect from them. Basically, Big 12 football is very unpredictable week in and week out. So for that, give me Oregon.
All right. Next game is LSU and Grambling State. I think we can just run through this one.
Yep, LSU.
Even though LSU got demolished in the second half against Florida State, I don't see them getting the brakes beat off them by Grambling.
Nope.
All right. Next game is Wisconsin and Washington State. I'm actually going to pull this game up because I'm actually intrigued as to what the line is, because Washington State is the home team in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. And it's also a night game, so I have to also point that out.
So it's a Pac-12 after dark game then?
It is. It's actually on ABC too. It's so Wisconsin's favored 6.5. In Pullman, Washington. I can see Washington State pulling off the win here. Am I crazy to say that?
Mm-mm.
Am I crazy to say that? Elijah says Wazoo defends home turf. This is his upset pick of the week.
And you know what, Trev? Make this my upset pick of the week too. Give me the Cougars.
Ooh. So we have a double upset this week. Yes, I'm going to pick Washington State as my upset too. Yes, Wisconsin's a very good football team. I'm not going to lie about that. By the way, Elijah, you kind of messed up. There you go. Wisconsin's a very good football team. However, looking at their game that they had last week, it was against Colorado State, so we can't really say much to that. No,
Yeah.
It was against Buffalo. We can't really say much to that. So this game is going to be very, very good. It's a 6.5-point favorite for Wisconsin.
Yeah. Plus,
But
and like you say, they're in Washington. They're at home, against a team that's traveling pretty far. I mean, from Pullman to Madison, I don't know exact distance and stuff like that. At home, I mean, this is a ripe upset, especially because Wisconsin, they're one of those teams that's a very finicky team as well, kind of like a Nebraska or a team like that. So, I don't know. Something just tells me that the Cougars get this done. And is this a triple upset pick, too, that I see?
Maybe. Yes. Oh, yes, it is. It is a triple upset. All three are locking in their upset as Washington State. Ooh. For this game, I'll put $250 on this game on BetUp. There you go. But yeah, the distance is 1,702 miles. It is a 25-hour drive. You have to go up by Spokane to go down into Pullman, which is really interesting how that's mapped out. Actually, they could be avoiding tolls. Well, they'll be flying, yeah. But I'm looking at the drive, and I think my route avoids tolls. That's beside the point. Next game is Southern Miss and Florida State. I think we're going to lock this one into Florida State and move on with our lives.
Florida State. Yep, Florida State. And I think we could probably pull this next one out pretty quickly, too, here.
Yeah, because it's Oregon State and UC Davis. Yeah, we're definitely pulling that one. Give me for back-to-back weeks the Beavs. This time, actually knowing who the Oregon State's quarterback is in DJ Uiagalelei. Am I the only one that likes saying his name? Uiagalelei.
Yeah, and I agree with Elijah on this next game too, just because this is a very intriguing one. And this was one that I picked for us to
pull this next one up. Illinois and Kansas, definitely going to do that. Let me get to that really quick. Hold on. I'll pull that up because then I can pull up the other one too.
Yeah, and the reason why I decided to is because, Elijah and I were messaging, kind of like getting ideas for like what games to look up and stuff, and then I just so happened to see Illinois and Kansas, and the line is I think -3 or something like that.
Did I have this top 25? Oh, I do.
And Kansas, and I think they're in Lawrence or so.
I didn't even know this. This is actually a Friday night game. So,
yep.
Definitely. Okay, got that pulled up. Let me, so like we said, this is Illinois and Kansas. Kansas is a 3-point favorite over the Illini. Jake, go ahead with this one.
Kind of like what I was saying there too. Kansas, they're no longer a laughing stock and an easy win anymore. Over the last couple of years since they had who is their coach? Who's their coach currently now?
Kansas, their head coach is, I can't even remember who their coach is.
Well, I mean, regardless though, Kansas is a lot better than they've been over the last few years and stuff like that. And I think
Lance Leopold.
Yeah. Since Leopold has joined, I mean, they may not win a bunch of games, but Kansas pulls it close. They make it fun. It's a lot more intriguing, and it's no longer an easy win. And like I say, with this being a 3-point one way or the other here, call me crazy, but...
By the way, I just want to point out, we don't have a single difference this week.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get to the difference here soon.
Oh, we definitely are going to have a difference. At least for our last game.
Honestly, like Elijah does put up a good point there. Brett Bielema is pretty good too, but give me Kansas for this one.
Give you Kansas. And we do have our first difference here because Elijah picks Illinois. Actually, is this a night game? This is. So Kansas is actually going to be donning new uniforms. So I will actually do that color. So they're actually going to do black and blue.
Ooh. I'm actually kind of picturing it now, and if it is what I think it is, I think those are going to be nice.
I don't think.
And I love what Elijah says. And I love Elijah. Difference.
Yeah.
That's fine.
As much as I hate the Jayhawks, this game being in Lawrence, give me Kansas at home. I don't know why, but give me Kansas at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I was almost tempted for this to be a potential upset for me too, but honestly, the Washington State and Wisconsin game is just way more intriguing in my opinion. Yeah. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Now,
the game we've all been waiting for.
The game of the week, featuring
Deckers goes for Hutchinson, and he's got a touchdown. There are no flags. And Iowa State
Hold ourselves in the light, hoping we'll survive. Won't raise a white flag. South
It's legendary coaches that teach you how to be a man.
Team football, finish the fight.
Swarm together, hand in hand, because brothers have each other's backs. No matter what. This place is called Iowa, and its people are the Hawkeyes. This tradition is our family. And this family is worth fighting for. We fight for teams. We fight for our state. We fight for our university. We fight for our tradition. It's time to fight. It's time to fight for Iowa.
It's State's turn to win it.
Yeah,
Forget about it. Hawkeyes an upset.
It is the Iowa Hawkeyes as they travel to Ames, as they will take on
This is a cyclone weather alert.
The Cyclones of Iowa State. Now, we gotta get it. We definitely have to take a minute to talk about this game. Last year, it ended on a very controversial touchdown by Hunter Deckers to Xavier Hutchinson. There was hand fighting the whole time, personally. So good thing they didn't call pass interference, because honestly, it could have gone either way. This year, it's in Ames. Now, the last time Iowa State won this game in Ames, I think Elijah looked it up. It was 2011, and that was the first overtime in the entire series. 2019, that game literally could have been the one that Iowa State wins to end the 4-game winning streak. Unfortunately, as you saw in the Iowa version of this clip, the Iowa clip, that game ended on a punt return fail. So that made the entire difference. Now, looking at the line, it's actually it's still the same. It hasn't gone up or down since yesterday, I think it was. It's still in favor of Iowa by 4. Jake, I'll let you pick this game first.
Ooh. Not gonna lie, I've gone back and forth on this game so many times, just like especially over the last few days and stuff like that, just because, I mean, let's be honest here, just from a logistics standpoint and from a thought standpoint, this should be Iowa's game, just because, case in point, we still don't know who Iowa State's number 1 quarterback is going to be moving forward. I know that Becht gets the start for this game, but also it's the Cyhawk game. There, in years past, we've seen both sides, we're coming off of really great years and stuff like that. Just, this game right here really, in my opinion, can springboard one or the other. But honestly, if I had to predict, if I had to guess, I got to go the Hawks here. Just because, in my opinion, Iowa State, there's still a few things that need to be kind of ironed out to really get an idea. Because, again, the big thing for me comes down to the quarterback, because, is Becht really going to be that guy? Is it going to be, the backup? Like the whole thing with Hunter Deckers and all that stuff, I'm not going to get into that because, let's be honest here, it affected both teams pretty heavily there. Not going to lie, kind of regardless. But for me, the deciding factor on why I'm going with the Hawkeyes is because of Cade McNamara. And it's not because I dislike Iowa State or whatever, because believe it or not, I'm one of the few people that have rooted for both teams. It's just in a matchup that's close, especially because it's Iowa at -4. And plus, these games always are tight and they're always close. And there's always some sort of just dumb butt luck that happens in these games that usually determines the outcome. I mean, last year was Iowa's misstep on the 4th and goal. Few years ago, like you said, it was that punt fumble.
Mm-hmm.
And but just looking at this from a logistics standpoint, taking my fandoms of both sides out of this, I have to go with Iowa because, again, McNamara is the difference for me in this one because, in my opinion, both teams are fairly evenly matched. But it's just McNamara has that more starting pedigree over Becht. And that's not to say Becht in a couple of years can't be that guy. But for me, I have to go with the Hawks just because of McNamara.
Well, we all know who Elijah's picking because he is the Hawk fan here. He will be picking Iowa, and we obviously know who I'm picking. But I'm gonna give a reason as to why. Looking at the total yards, Iowa had more yardage than Iowa State did, but the yards allowed is what is getting me, very much so. Looking at the yards allowed, Iowa actually allowed almost 330 yards last week against Utah State, who they should have easily blown out of the water. Yes, that defense is still amazing. However, it's more of, yes, Cade McNamara is going to make this game a very tough game against Iowa State. Iowa State does have a really good defense as well. We're not going to ignore that. The only thing that's striking me about Cade, and this is a worry for all the Hawkeye fans out there, Cade made a bunch of errors throwing the ball. He overthrew some people. He was almost picked, if I heard, 3 times in the first half. He cleaned it up in the second half. But that's the one thing that the Hawkeye fans need to worry about. Because let's say you actually go up against a defense that can make those that won't drop the interceptions but will actually take them. If that is the difference, then Iowa State Iowa will walk home without the trophy. And the trophy will stay in hand. And that is my reason why Iowa State will win this week. It's drop passes. Even if it's tiny and there can easily be fixed, that's the other thing. You gotta look at the comparison here, especially with it doesn't matter who you play against. So yeah, I'm picking Iowa State. I mean, that's just who I was born and raised to pick. You can't go against the team you were born and raised to pick. So hold on, really quick before we sign off, because I really gotta sign off here really soon. These are our picks for the week. Drop your picks down in the comments section down below. That you should see this later in the week. I will definitely say that. But Jake, thank you once again for doing this with me. Oh, actually, no. Oh yeah, thank you once again for hopping on and doing this with me.
Not a problem.
And then to sign off for today, guys. Yes, this is Iowa and Iowa State Hate Week. This really is. However, this coming Monday, this country was struck with the most devastating attack in the entire history of the United States. That was the attack on the Twin Towers. Elijah here made the intro, made this week's outro. Yes, this is the week we both hate each other. However, this is something we cannot hate each other. This is something that we can get together and unite as a country. This outro this week is a 9/11 tribute. So guys, if anyone out there that was struck by 9/11, my deepest condolences, and hopefully you guys are living your best lives to your ability. But from Jake and Elijah, this is T Money signing off. We will see you guys this week. But before we go, we'd like to leave you with a moment of silence before our outro for Cyhawk Week.